Good morning, everybody. My name is Marla, and I'm in the New Orleans area. I'm going to first read our introduction, and then we'll take it from there. Eracism is the slogan of the group Erace, which was formed in New Orleans in the summer of 1993. We seek ways through person-to-person communication to show that we are committed to treating all human beings, excuse me, with love, respect, empathy, compassion, and humility. Join us. Erace is an organization that does not espouse any political party, and we have no religious affiliation. We believe in acceptance of all people, and no personal attacks of any kind will be tolerated. We come with the intention to listen, learn, and not to argue. We begin today by acknowledging that what we know as the United States is the ancestral and unceded territory of many indigenous peoples, and that there are many more nations and tribes that could be named here. Members of our group today are on the lands of the Chitimacha and Choctaw in New Orleans, the Creeks and Cherokees in Atlanta, the Tonkawan, Lipan, Apache, and Comanche in Austin, the Lenape and Piscataway in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, the Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples in Boston, the Coquille and Mojave in Riverside, and the Lumbee in Fayetteville. We thank their ancestors for being stewards of these lands through generations and through today. We need to protect and honor the history and people of these places. Despite centuries of colonial theft and violence, we should always remember that we are all still on Indigenous land, and it will always be Indigenous land. Okay, first I'll have everybody go around and introduce themselves, and then I can just quickly review the format of the meeting to ensure safety and respect. So I'll go around and ask you to name who you are in the order that I see on my screen. Beatrice?
Hi, good morning. Beatrice Souble here in East Point, Georgia, outside of Atlanta. Member of Erace since 93, 94 when I lived in New Orleans. Good morning. Glad to see everyone.
Good morning. Louise?
Hi, good morning. I'm Louise, been a member off and on since the mid-90s in New Orleans, and then now I'm in Austin, Texas.
Thank you. Amal?
Good day, everyone. This is Amal, and I've been a member since 1997, and been coming ever since.
Thank you. Richard?
Morning, everybody. It's Richard here in New Orleans, and like a lot of us here have been here since pretty much the beginning, really around 1993.
Thank you. Phyllis?
Good morning, I'm Phyllis. I'm in New Orleans, and I've been coming to Erace since the summer of 2008.
Thank you. Teresa?
I'm Teresa Robertson, and I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I've been coming since August 2022.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Just briefly to review the format of the meeting, everybody should keep themselves on mute if it is not your turn or you're not speaking. I'll be keeping a list of people in the order that I see you raise your finger to indicate that you'd like to be on the list. Each time you speak, you'll get 2 minutes per turn. Please respect, don't interrupt the speaker, no side comments to others, no personal attacks, no name calling. There is also an opportunity for a clarifying question. If somebody says something that you are curious to have clarified, you would raise 2 fingers, and then after the speaker is finished, you would say, I did not understand what you meant by, or could you clarify what you meant by, and so on. And the clarifying questions are not to further the opinions of the asker. So no long monologues and so forth. Yeah. Only 2 people are allowed to ask clarifying questions per speaker. Okay, the topic. I just wanted to, I don't know, have a topic that was interesting and would spark interesting conversation. There really wasn't anything specifically timely about it because this is always a timely topic. It doesn't really matter what's happening in the news. This is something that continues to be an ongoing issue that We don't have a lot of women in leadership positions, and it just, I have a few ideas as to why, as I'm sure many folks on the call do as well. So without further ado, I will start keeping a list, which would help if I had paper and pen handy. And who would like to go first? Or who would like to be on the list? Okay, Louise. And Louise is keeping time. Thanks, Louise.
So it was a really interesting video, and obviously something that we all need to watch and understand. And it's been something with me all through my life. It's just a simple, I had two simple things through my life growing up. One was, why aren't women in charge? They would make a much better, peaceful world. And two, if we had no one join the army, we would have no armies and no wars. That was obviously when I was younger. It was a very naive thought, but that was always my thought as a young girl. But yes, I totally, totally believe that women would make way better negotiators, way better, policymakers, policymakers for everyone instead of just themselves. Not to say that there aren't any greedy, power hungry women, for sure. Margaret Thatcher, but it's in on the whole, yeah. Just to say that this is a really good topic, and I'm glad you did bring it to mind. And also, I was trying to talk about Femi, if you know Femi Kuti, the jazz musician. His mother, if you could look into that. Of course, I don't have the name of the podcast, but I recently just listened about her life and how amazing she was, and she basically instigated and spawned off her actions loads of women's groups all over Africa, and it's amazing. She's an amazing woman, and I suggest you look into her. Fella, right, was her name? Did we establish that? I can't remember. Okay, she's okay. Anywho, I do recommend that, and I think Phyllis will come with some more details about that. Anyway,
that was
that.
perfect.
Yay.
Okay, anybody else care to be on the list? Phyllis.
Okay, so her name is Funmilayo, Funmilayo, Ransom with an E on the end, hyphen Kuti. And the podcast is Higher Ground, is the name of the podcast. I want to say, I thought the women in the video were very inspiring, the work that they've done, how they've done it. I think none of them were really elected people participating in government in their countries, but they were making big changes. And I don't know if anybody's seen the video recently of both Hillary Clinton and Sarah somebody basically saying that young people, especially young Jewish people, don't understand history, and that's why they're so upset about what's happening in Gaza, because they were educated wrong. First of all, they shouldn't have been taught that the Holocaust was bad, that it's bad for strong people to abuse weak people. And then Hillary just dismisses younger people's understanding, and she just seems like I'm sorry I voted for her. I'm sad that you know who won, but I'm sorry I voted for her. Like a dark soul, like there's something malignant inside her soul, and yeah, I think we have to look at the whole picture, especially in this country with women in positions of power, because I think to get to where they got, to have any kind of power, they had to really sacrifice their, if they ever had any innate compassion for people, to compete with the heartless, soulless men around them. Not all men. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. All right, Beatrice.
There was so much to connect with and to learn, like by bride price and all of the different static issues in a society that result in making women less valuable. And I've always been concerned that when decisions, for example, decisions about war, decisions that have anything to do with the lives of people, the people who make those decisions are normally males. And if females holding their children were sitting at tables where conversations about war and destruction were had, the conversations would not go forward. I can remember reading a long time ago about, I think his name was Muhammad Yunus. He used to make, I think it maybe in India, he used to make small micro loans to females, and they would start businesses. And their businesses, females educated and in business, were changing their whole communities. And this is where women are empowered and valued. Their value goes far beyond them personally and even their families. And I think this recording was made that so apparent that when there are people, when societies value females and their contributions, their abilities, their ways of looking at things, of problem solving, the whole community survives well, strives. The this idea about the population of unmarried single men because they couldn't pay this bride price. And what happens to a community when these people are just, these young men are just running around creating havoc, killing people? It's a cancer that happens because people do not value females and what they can give to society. It's tragic. Mother Earth is what we need to start from understanding, that the Earth is female. You produce, you nurture. So this was very, very compelling. So much in this compelling.
Thank you, Beatrice. The list is open if someone else would like to go.
Well, I'd get on the list. I'm
Okay.
shopping, so I was trying to do all the listening, but this isn't the first time that I've heard of this, and it's just like the beat goes on. This is more of an update that has more recent statistics than when I first heard of this, but the very reasons that women aren't in positions of power, I think, is that I forget. I think the book is called All the Single Ladies. I'll have to research that or Phyllis, if you don't mind me giving you some homework. I believe it's called All the Single Ladies. That was she really did a deep dive of how the United States in particular was set up to support men. And her argument was that the government needs to do the same thing for women, support us and things that we need to do. And that when this country was set up, it was set up to benefit men. And now we need to broaden that so every adult can be successful. It's the whole paternal attitude of, oh, you don't have the intelligence or the this or the that or the whatever to govern even your own self and resources. So you need some white guy to come in and manage everything. Well, that, of course, the whole world isn't full of white guys, but it's like the attitude of, well, you have to have the men in charge to do it. And that whole mindset. And I was happy. I know I have to get back on the list, but I was very happy to see how they were saying, and it happens even, I was surprised that they didn't show the polygynous in Utah, for example, or um, people who are even in a cult. You see it repeated time and time again. The older men try to take all the women. What do you think these young guys are going to do? I mean, honestly. And Phyllis, again, I'm not picking on you, but I know how you don't like Bill Maher. But he said, all of these guys who are blowing themselves up, all they need is AC and a woman. And a lot of this violence would stop. I think that's something you can get on. Men are not complex creatures. Um, but that is even within these so-called cults, that's one of the things that brings down the cult. The older men with more resources take all the women, whereas these young men are, you don't have anything productive for them to do, no hope of them having companionship. Of course, they're going to rebel. What else have you given them to do? They don't have money, they don't have property, and they don't have a girlfriend or a wife or whoever. So they're not going to just be happy being celibate and just, work and toil all day. Anyway, I feel that that's over 2 minutes.
It was perfect.
I think she started that timer late, but I'll take it.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. Phyllis, you're next, and then the list is open.
Yeah, I think the book is, I think I put it in the chat, Teresa. It's by Rebecca Traister.
Is the book called All the Single Ladies? Or?
Yep, The Rise of an Independent Nation.
That I thought so because it was a Beyonce song.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for looking that up and putting it in the chat.
Sure thing. That was easy homework. I wanted to say, I didn't feel picked on either. But I think the problem is like what Teresa was saying about not just bride prices and those things. And also, yeah, there's a lot of Western things that could have been mentioned in the video. Is that women are treated as some sort of product or commodity to be hoarded almost. And when the young men are revolting, they're not going after the system. It seems like they're not going for the older men who are, making their lives miserable. They just kidnap women. So it doesn't really change anything. Yeah, that's all for now.
Thank you. Anybody else care to get on the list? It is open. Anybody? Richard, thank you.
Well, for the sake of keeping the conversation going, I'll bring up something that I'd be interested to hear perspectives on, and that is that I think we're often. One thing this video did that I like was that it wasn't centered on the United States and the impact and conditions for women in the U.S. It was more of a worldwide. I believe there were at least a couple African women speaking, which was good to hear. But one of the things that I'd be interested to hear on the perspective as someone who considers themselves largely secular in their approach to issues like this is that I think that the countries where women, not including the United States, where women often have the most power and they're closest to being considered equal in any respect in society, whether with their rights and socially, culturally, are those countries where there is largely a secular view of life. I'm thinking largely of Western Europe. That is, conversely, the countries where there's the most oppression of women, and this, of course, is a generality. are those countries where you have the largest degree of fundamentalism in religion, and including in the United States, the areas where you have the most oppression of women, where they have the least power, the least chance of getting into office, are in those districts. This is not a white or black or racial thing. It's where religion has the strongest foothold, where there's the strongest amount of fundamentalism. So my argument is the more secular we are, the more not only do we have freedom of religion, but freedom from religion. Those are the areas geographically, culturally, where we're going to have the best chances for women to have equal rights, to have power. Western Europe again comes to mind.
Thank you, Richard. Louise, you're up.
Yeah, I totally agree, Richard. And I see that pattern, that you're talking about. So yeah, I agree. Although, what that's quite a battle that we have, right? So I don't know how we even begin to change that. So I was interested to see that they put those countries that had zero. I can't remember the words they did, but it was Sweden, Switzerland, and Australia, right? That was that on this, or was that on something else I was watching? That was on the video, right? Yeah. Okay. Good. So yes, I guess the most the countries without that oppression of women in religion. That is an interesting point. I actually was only just kind of agreeing with Richard on that, but and also posing the question, how on earth, so what's our next step? How do we do that? How do we, not by insulting other people's religions, but carefully picking out the bits of the religion that are obviously misogynistic and do we have the right to do that? How do we do it? I don't know. Anyway, there's the questions. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. The list is open.
Can I get on?
Yes.
I'm in my car now. Okay.
And then I think, Phyllis, you had your finger up too. Okay.
Was she up before me?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So about do we have the right about religion? My view about religion is that I believe in God, but I shouldn't say, well, how to say it? I have less belief in other people than I do in God. Okay. And especially established religions, because I see it as a power move. I don't see that these so-called religions, they're run by human beings. They may have been inspired by God, but it's not godly ran. It's a justification for other human beings to do the most egregious things in the name of their God, that if you didn't profess this religion, you would be the biggest criminal, wouldn't you? So I see it as another reason for a very greedy, power hungry group of people to seize resources and force people to do what they want. And there's maybe an essence of God in the room or in the books or something, but I don't think that's the primary reason. So when they, take the Boko Haram that kidnaps girls, not even, or you can call them young women, and then force them whatever religious beliefs they have, now they're that belief because, they need women. But I kind of go back to the, women would be attracted to you if you weren't such a horrible person. It's amazing how the most horrible people still want to be loved and cherished and all these wonderful qualities that they don't want to show, empathetic treatment that they don't want to show. If you remember when the Orange Menace got his ear nipped, and he said that Biden and Harris sent him such wonderful cards. And he said basically that I wish they hadn't done that because it was hard for him to keep, spewing hate after they gave him this act of sympathy and empathy about him being, about that assassination attempt. So it was just really interesting how he was like, oh, I wish they hadn't sent me such a great sympathy card. But that is what is more needed. Thank you.
Thank you. And for some reason, I'm kind of having video problems. I don't know why. So if I'm suddenly not responsive, it's because of that. Phyllis, you're next.
So yeah, the worst people that Teresa alluded to, if it is their really driving factor that they want to be loved, they're really bad at getting that for themselves, because what they really achieve is just someone to have power over who isn't going to love them because they're being forced against their will to do whatever, to be part of religion, to be the wife of that person, to have that person's children who they don't want to even look at, the man, not the children. And I do think, like, I can't in my mind right now think of a patriarchy based in secularism. Patriarchy always comes from religion. Almost all the religions. You can't rule any of them out. And not just the Abrahamic ones. So now some do, there are some parts of those faiths that move away from being so severely patriarchal, but I have a belief that patriarchy not only harms women and children, it also harms men, because they're not able to be their fully human selves under that kind of a system where they're supposed to be the strong, the powerful, the ones in charge. That's a lot of pressure because men don't always have the right answers. I know that's shocking, but thank you.
Thank you. All right, Louise, you're next.
Just to jump off that it's a cycle. These young men that are causing all these problems and abusing women comes from what they've seen and what they've been raised as to be, okay. So it just goes on and on and on. It's if we can break that cycle, we're halfway there, right? It's and as you say, the men are suffering from it too, because I'm sure they weren't given hugs and kisses and love by their stern father, just a smack around the face if they did something wrong, and then they go see their mum getting smacked around the face, and it's just a horrible abusive kind of cycle that that everyone is suffering. Everyone is suffering. That was it.
Thank you. The list is open. Teresa, you want to get back on? No pressure.
You kind of remind me of Game of Thrones, if you ever saw it, and it's like, okay, now we'll throw to a sex scene. Let's go to the person who rants.
Hey, Teresa, you are every facilitator's dream person.
Yeah.
Let me
because
tell
I
you.
can always talk.
Right?
That's great.
No, I was just thinking, if I have my theories, but then again, I'm a woman. So I wonder, if you asked men in power, why don't they make it? Because certainly, you gave the example of Margaret Thatcher. There are women who could have creative ideas. I would just put it to you this way. When Fox News, not Fox News, excuse me, Fox Network opened up their directors, like really trying to diversify who was directing TV shows on their channel, they started winning all types of awards because they brought in a diverse group of creative people. And when you see the same problems and the same demographic of people in charge, and it's like the logical connection is, well, my goodness, if we want the ultimate outsider, if you want something different, why not vote for the person who has? That's what's so wonderful about Mandani. Now, he may be another lying politician just like the rest of them, but wow, isn't he a different one? I mean, just different. And how people will talk, well, I should say people from the United States will talk so much about home of the brave and land of the free, and yet you don't feel brave enough to vote for someone who is a different gender, who may not have been raised a Christian, who may be the child of immigrant parents. Like, I don't know who really they think is making this country work, but it has never been the 1%. It's always been the 99 that has worked and built the country, the actual muscle, the actual labor. And what drives me nuts, at even when I work at a school or even the corporation that I work for, if you want to get solutions to a problem, you have to ask the people who are closest to it. A lot of the decisions that you're just like, wow, you are so out of touch because you don't know what's going on.
All right, thank you, Teresa. Anybody else care to get on the list?
Amal, go on, Amal.
Yeah, I was just soaking up the wisdom, trying to see where everybody was at before I said anything. Because I do have some ideas about the video. Quite interesting video. Absolutely no one wants to live under a system where they're just a commodity. You know, some of these horror stories that you heard about these little girls, I can't remember the percentage that they gave as it relates to how many of them got married before they were 18. And then there was some who were married before they even 15 years old. And thinking to myself, mentally where I was at that age, knowing I didn't even have the capability of being nobody's husband at 15 years old, but let's not pretend like it was that long ago where in the United States you could do that. My mother was born 1954, 1968. She was already pregnant at 14 and married at the same time. So, it wasn't that long ago that these things happened in the United States too. So we have to sometimes give other nations a chance to catch up and and quit judging them based on the way we see things take place in the United States. As far as polygamy is concerned, um, to be honest with you, I've seen situations like that where it actually worked, where there was a man who had more than one wife and their family got along well. And I'm not saying that they aren't horror stories. There are horror stories where people take it, people use those type of situations to their advantage. But how many marriages where it was just one man and one woman where we've seen horror stories and success rates as well? Either way, you can find a horror story, and either way, you can find a success story. So it just depends on who's doing it, who's the practitioner.
Right, thank you. And I think Louise had a clarifying question.
Sure.
Yeah. Where did you see that family, that the polygamous family?
In Atlanta, Georgia. I saw one in Atlanta. I also saw of when I was in Israel. Seen one there too. And it wasn't that the men were just looking for an opportunity to, like, I know I can't remember, I think it's in Islam when the Prophet Muhammad allowed the men to have more than one wife. It wasn't just for the sake of having more than one wife. What happened is when they would go off to war, some of these women would lose their husbands in battle, so that they would be left without a husband. They would just get married to a man who was already married. Things like that happened in ancient times. And I'm not saying that happened today in the examples that I gave, but like I say, I've seen situations where they've worked, and I've seen situations where they haven't. So it goes both ways. Sometimes we just hit a horror story and we never hit a successful situation.
Louise?
So that just makes me wonder, can women marry more than one husband? Is that a law as well then?
And I've never seen no examples of that. No, let me take that back. I have. I seen a family on YouTube where there was a woman who had two husbands. And according to what they say they were happy. And then who am I to tell them that they're not? So
Sure.
I've seen, like I said, I've seen them on both ways. So, um, like I said, this was another family that was in Atlanta. It was two husbands, one wife. So
Okay.
Anybody else care to get on the list? Phyllis.
I do.
Phyllis
I
and
have
then
to.
Teresa.
Okay.
Wait. Okay.
Wait, am I going?
Yes.
Okay. I think so polyandry is a term used when a woman has more than one husband, but there's also a concept of polyamory where people just have relationships in whatever grouping or number of people they are comfortable with.
that's an orgy.
No, that's sex.
An orgy.
No, polyamory is more committed, based in, loving relationships. It's not going to some club where you can just have sex with whoever. So I think the difference is the systematic nature of it. Like polyamory is more individuals decide to be in those kind of relationships, a loving, committed relationship. So I think might be sharing the same house, not necessarily, I guess. There's also the concept of thruples, where there's three people in a relationship. And I think the difference for me is, like, even if there was a man living with two women and they describe themselves as married, it depends on the power dynamic in the relationship. Like if there's equality and equity and decision making mutually, but if it's top down, the man being the top, obviously, that's what becomes dangerous, in my opinion. Thank you.
Teresa, you're next.
All right, thank you. I was gonna comment what oh, I forgot your name already. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to do too many things. Amal, thank you. I didn't want to say didn't want to say the wrong name. But if we're talking about a similar population of women, the ones who husbands die in war or whatever, a lot of times they have to give up, well, of the society that I'm thinking of, and I have to research, but sometimes those war widows do not remarry because their husbands do not want those children. And so there are war wives who are single, and if they don't have a male child, they have to get, the nearest male relative to, I don't know if they call it advocate on their behalf or whatever, but whatever it is, they don't want to give up their children, which is why they're not going to get remarried. Because, that was one of the things that they were just like, why don't you just get married again? And it's like, well, they don't want my children from my previous relationship. So again, it irritates the hell out of me when societies are formed basically to put a woman in a position that she can't take care of herself and her family unless there's some man to take care of her. And then there's the other side of that is like, oh, these gold diggers. Well, if the only way a woman can get money is to essentially be reduced to a gold digger, I mean, it's just amazing that there's so many bad words to call a woman, hardly any in comparison to exclusively call men. And men are setting up the dynamics like that. It's not that women are putting themselves in a position that the only way you can make money is to have a man. That's what men like. They like to be in control of all that and then get upset when a woman is very, okay, I need this paid for, I need that paid for, whatever. And I know that's not so much in American society anymore, but there is still that kind of I want power and money and women. But if you use money as a bait, that's the fish you're going to catch.
Thank you, Teresa. I would just say what you were saying reminds me of the resurgence of the trad wife. So maybe that would be something else interesting to discuss. Anybody else care to be on the list? Phyllis.
Well, bringing up the trad wife reminded me, I just saw a friend of mine from high school who posted a picture where there was this whole thing. It was a whole language of how great things used to be in the 50s. The couple that posted it, looked Hispanic. There was a picture of them together with this post. She's wearing a cute dress and like slightly above the ankle boots, white. He's wearing a suit. He's going like this, kind of around his abdominal area. He's got hand tattoos. She's got a tattoo on her chest. I'm not judging that. I have tattoos. But it just struck me as odd that those two people would be advocating for going back to the life in the 50s. I was like, what? And so, as I often do when this friend posts things, I go to the original page and comment. I forget what I even commented. It wasn't bad, but I don't get mean to people. But I think there is the concept of the trad wife that, you can stay home, you can be taken care of, take care of the kids. It's not that hard. You can hang out with your friends. You can go to, I literally saw a video with me and was like, you can go out and visit with your friends. You can have Bible study. And I was just like, what? And it's just this, when it's almost like in our culture and many cultures, women and men are set up to be adversaries instead of companions. Okay, I'm done.
You can probably keep going unless somebody else would like to get on the list. Louise. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I did write down Louise. My apologies. I got distracted. Louise.
I just have two points that I guess, there are ladies. I mean, I'm a woman and I always expect women to have the same kind of views as me as far as equal rights and not wanting to be looked after and cared for, that they can, independent women. I just expect that from women. But, I got to open my mind and just realize that, there are a lot of women that don't want that. And they do want to be cared for and looked after and, have that kind of a life. It's kind of sickening. It makes me a little sad, but that's the truth, right? There are some people like that. And then I thought of another thing when someone was talking earlier, that universal free childcare, right? That's a pivotal part of freedom for women, and being able to go to college, go to work, go do stuff, and not be, have that around your neck of paying for childcare. And for men, I'm not leaving men out of this, single men or just free childcare, good free childcare. I think is a real beginning of what can help empower women to do their stuff. And for all of those gold digger women, shame on you. That's it. Letting the side down. That's it.
That's a clarifying question.
Oh yeah, there's two clarifying questions.
Go ahead, Phyllis. Let Phyllis go first.
And then
Let Phyllis go first. I'll go after.
Okay, Phyllis.
Thanks, Amal. My question is, were you shaming the gold diggers or shaming, and the alleged gold diggers, or shaming the men who set up to call women gold diggers?
Oh, that's a good point. Both, probably. Both. I think it's an easy way out for women, and I think they should, I think that sucks. I know society has led that, to be, but yeah, they need to grow some, for want of a better analogy. And yeah, so both.
Thank you. Amal?
Yeah, my question was as it relates to universal child care that you mentioned. Is there an example of that you've seen somewhere where that works, or is that just something that you hope for?
No, I hope for, and
Okay.
I believe New York is pushing for that, right? So, yeah, no, I have not seen that, and it really, there is enough money. I mean, this country is so rich, it's so wealthy, and it's mismanaged. Anyway, it can be done. That's it.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say welcome, Leonetta. The list is open. We have a few more minutes before maybe doing wrap-ups if anybody else would like to be on the list. Okay, Richard.
Well, I think, as I often do in discussions like this, I often think it's the human qualities, negative and positive, that define the issue more than, quote, the racial issues, or what I still think of as the sex issues. I'm never quite comfortable with the word gender, but the male-female issues. And I'll go back to a case that, kind of playing off on the childcare issue, is the new mayor of New York, young mayor, is not female. He happens to be male, Mandami. And what he's pushing for, and God knows, me being a Bernie Sanders progressive type, I'm way behind him. I'm all for what he's pushing for. And I'm thinking what he's pushing for is the kinds of things that will name childcare, free transportation, all the things that women and men think is necessary to get ahead in a city like New York. And I would think that a lot of women would say that with Mandami in power, I as a woman have a lot more chance of succeeding in a place like New York, at least keeping my head above water. And I wouldn't be surprised if the people that he has in his circle are at least 50% women. And so I think Mandami brings up that in many cases, it's the human qualities, positive and negative, that are at issue. That's why I brought up religion, more than whether someone is male or female, and that that subjugation is not a male or female issue. It's a human quality that people in power, men and women, want to stay in power. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That applies as much to men and as much to women as it does to men, unfortunately. We have people like Imelda Marcos to look at. On the negative side, we have people like Merkel is a controversial figure, but she held sway in Germany for many years, and she was popular enough to get reelected by men and women there. So I think these are human qualities we need to contend with, not male or female ones.
Thank you. Anybody care to be on the list or time for a couple? Phyllis.
I guess I think um, there are definitely human uh, traits, factors that can be possible in anyone, but I can't think of an example where women systematically oppressed men as a group. Women as a group systematically had enough power to oppress men as a group. I think that's the difference that we're talking about here is patriarchal, societal, religious power is usually in the hands of men. And that's where a lot of the problems of the world stem from thousands and thousands of years. It's not new. That's it.
Thank you. And time for one more, and then we'll move into wrap-ups. All right, we can start with the wrap-ups. We have enough time. Everybody can have 2 minutes if they want for the wrap-up, if that's okay. I just changed our laws or whatever you want to call them, our bylaws.
Totally okay. As far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so 2 minutes for everybody since everybody spoke except for Leonetta. We can start with Leonetta though, since you just came on. Leonetta, do you have a wrap up? And no pressure if not. Wonder if she stepped away maybe. Okay, I can come back to you, Leonetta. Teresa, go ahead with the wrap up.
Again, thank you for this video. It's an ongoing discussion. And I don't know. I'm going to join with my laptop just so I can send you guys a link. So if I could be let in on a second time, I'd appreciate that. I don't have much of a wrap up because it just seems. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Is it echoed?
No.
Okay, good. I was just gonna say, I want to send you all a link that I mentioned before the meeting. But oh my God, my picture is there twice. Look at that. I like that. It's almost like having a scratch off, and you get if you have two Teresas, you get double your money. Anyway, good to see you all finally. This is an ongoing issue, and I hope we do get to see a case where more of the world embraces diversity so that more of the population is represented in the governance of that population. Thank you.
Thank you. Amal, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, great video. For me personally, I look at my own life and my own upbringing, and being that I didn't have a father growing up, I only grew up around women, from my great grandmother to my grandmother to my mother to my aunt to my two older sisters to my older cousins who are female. So I had a lot of women around me growing up. So this idea, these oppressed women that people show me, I haven't met these women because the women in my family were just the strong and they were powerful and they took care of everything and held everything down and they did the things that needed to be done to maintain family. So whatever that is, my mother worked. So, she worked and maintained a household, so of three children. But once again, I had my grandmother and my great grandmother too, and my aunt. So the women in my family were the power structure, if you will. And I can't pretend like, as a man today, that the impact of what they did didn't have didn't impact me positively to be the man that I am right now. So I know from a personal experience with the leadership and the thoughts and ideas of what a woman can be and do, um, when put in positions of power, because I can use my own family as that example. So I didn't have my father, so I just don't know what the balance is like, because I didn't have it personally. I've seen it in other families, but I didn't have it personally. Because when I went home, it was mama or it was grandmama, my two older sisters. During the summertime, I would go by my aunt. So that was my life and upbringing, and that's my understanding and knowing of who women are. And with the exception of my great grandmother and grandmother, those women are still powerful women right now, because my great grandmother and grandmother are passed on.
All right. Thank you, Amal. That's interesting. Good to know about you. Richard, you've got 2 minutes.
Yes, as usual, this was a good discussion and a good topic. I think uh, in some respects it's such a broad but important topic. We had some trouble kind of wrapping our hands around it. There's so many ways to approach it. Um, and I think kind of jumping off from what Amal said, often what I get most out of these discussions are people's where they're coming from personally on the issue. And I really appreciate, Amal, what you said about the powerful women in your life and how it's influenced your upbringing, and from what having met you personally over the years and having listened to you over the years for through racism, I think the women in your life done good by you. And frankly, it's forced me to that your example often causes me to reconsider some of my deepest held thoughts, and that is that in many cases, the men that have gone off the tracks have gone off because there hasn't been a strong man in their life to set them on the right path, and you have obviously contradicted that. So as usual with so many issues, we have to hold opposite ideas in our head and somehow try to get through it, which I think is often the case with the topic we've had here. So season's greetings to everybody, and I wish everybody well in the coming year, and I hope we can stick with this. Thanks.
Thank you. Phyllis?
Well, I appreciated the video and the opportunity to discuss the issues it raised. I think as a species of humans, we definitely have a lot of work to do to not only heal the planet, but heal ourselves and each other, to not have these kinds of adversarial relationships, whether it's gender or racial or religious or anything. But I also think people who abuse and oppress other people need to be called to accountability and receive the consequences of their actions. And thank you, Teresa, for the link to your blog.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Louise?
So, Amal, I also have a personal thing to relate, and also, yes, that's having all those women around made you the wonderful young man that you are, right? So my mum was raising 8 kids basically by herself, and she was physically abused. I mean, there's time. My memories are of her being pulled down the stairs by her hair, being punched. So she's my hero because not only did she have that abuse, physical and mental, she did manage to put food on our plates, and clothe us and send us to school and all of the things that, a mum should, well, a parent should do. And so she's amazing. And yes, she's my role model. She's my hero. She's amazing. She was amazing. She passed a few years ago. And of course, my dad didn't have any comeuppance, never got any, well, if you believe in heaven or hell, I believe, he's in that place downstairs for sure. It's where he belongs. Anywho, I'm rambling. And yeah, great video, great discussion, and woman power for sure.
Thank you. Beatrice?
Great video, great discussion. Good to be reminded of the through line from treating females, treating women as commodities to what happens to societies when that occurs. And it just, you have to keep reminded of everything has consequences. And those consequences are always much larger than one might expect, especially when it comes to how we treat a human being and how we respect or do not respect a human being. And it's a sad parade of females that are in the cabinet of this man that's in office. When I see those, it's just a sad parade of just incompetent bootlickers that the females that are in that office, it makes you shudder. But great discussion. And I just want to say how good it is that we have a community and conversation where people can share the deep hurts of their hearts and not fear, and feel comfortable and know that they're still loved. And thank you for the conversation, for the video, and for just being who you all are. And keep on keeping on.
Thank you, Beatrice. Leonetta, you have 2 minutes if you would like them. Like it. If you're trying to talk, you are muted. I guess I should have said that before, perhaps.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Okay. So, it was a wonderful meeting, and thank you all for having a safe space to talk. And it was a wonderful discussion of the little part I've heard. And I won't take the 3 minutes, but thank you. I enjoyed it, and I really needed to watch the video because right now, and Phyllis can relate to it. Right now, it's a lot of it's family time, so it's a lot of incest cases that I'm dealing with, and this film has helped me, and I'm going to share it. If you don't mind, I'm going to share it with my colleagues because it's a really helpful thing. Okay.
Great. Thank you. I'm glad it was helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I have a barking dog who's having a panic attack in the background, so apologies. I don't have too much more to I just
Maybe the dog was enjoying the meeting as well.
maybe so. I don't know. She's my anxious love. We're very similar, actually. I don't have a lot of thoughts to add. I really enjoyed the conversation that was had here. The one final thing that I do think about, though, a lot is why women are not in power and kind of how that was addressed in the video a little bit. And some of us touched on it during the conversation. People, I don't think, for leadership positions they're very rarely selected for their skill level, for their intelligence, for their ability. They are selected for charisma and power and arrogance. And those things, at least lately, really seem to be what people are drawn to as far as leadership selection. And I'm speaking specifically for the so-called United States of America. And I think the women, like what Beatrice said, the sad parade of women in Donald Trump's cabinet and so forth are women who are just reaching to try to have the power that men have. And it's just not in a good fashion. Anyway, I don't know if I have anything else. Yeah, I wrote not about humility, but about arrogance. Yeah, that's all I have. I just thank everybody for their input, and I hope everybody has a great holiday season as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Great article.